Right, Dan, can't wait to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, the game that convinced an entire generation that running fast was a personality. Before Sonic, platform games were all about careful jumping and collecting things.
Yeah. Then Sonic arrived and said, what if we made players move at 300 miles an hour and immediately smash into a spike they never saw coming?
I mean, it's certainly a bold design philosophy.
It was a bit like giving someone a Ferrari and then hiding a brick wall around the first corner.
Yeah, but to think that Sonic was created to compete with Nintendo and their cheerful plumber.
Yeah, and Sega responded with a blue hedgehog who looked like he'd call your music taste mid.
Yeah, but he did have attitude, though.
Yeah, he had enough attitude for the entire 1990s, mate.
Yeah, but looking back, it's amazing how iconic the Green Hill Zone became.
Yeah, palm trees, loops, checkered hills.
Beautiful music.
And no explanation for why any of it exists.
Yeah, just that you're a blue hedgehog fighting a bald scientist.
Standard wildlife management issue.
Yeah, speaking of the villain, Dr. Eggman or Robotnik, wherever you are, is one of gaming's great bad guys.
A man whose entire plan is, what if animals, but trapped in machinery?
Which is actually kind of sinister, right?
Yeah, and yet he looks like he'd spend most of his days arguing with customer service.
But the thing I remember most is collecting those rings.
Best health system ever.
Yep, one ring and you're basically immortal.
Till you get hit and your life saving explodes across the screen.
Yeah, nothing teaches you financial responsibility like watching 73 rings bounce into a bottomless pit.
Diversify your assets, they say. Sonic kept them all in his pockets.
Then there's the water levels.
Yeah, game's original panic attack simulator.
You hear the music speeding up.
And suddenly, you're not playing Sonic anymore, you're starring in a disaster documentary.
But despite all that, Sonic became a phenomenon.
Kids loved him, Sega loved him, marketing departments really loved him.
The original game sold millions and helped define the Sega era.
Not bad for a hedgehog. His main skill is violating speed limits.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gaming Views. I'm Dan P, and joining me as always is a man who moves through conversations faster than Sonic through the Green Hill Zone, collects bad takes like their golden rings, and has spent the last 30 years insisting he could absolutely defeat Dr. Robotnik with nothing more than a bicycle pump and a positive attitude. It's my very good mate, Dan H. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
I'm really good. Hello. I'm wondering what I'm doing with the bicycle pump. I've got some ideas. I'm not sure they're kid-friendly.
Well, you know, it's just the nearest thing to hand, right?
Positive attitude goes a long way, no?
Well, I was going to say, I wondered if you were going to say, what am I doing with a positive attitude?
Yeah, I ain't got one of those.
Not after the week.
Not normally.
Not after the sort of 48 hours you've had, you were telling me.
Screw technology, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping I can get through an episode with my voice intact today, which will be a good start.
Do it.
So, yeah, do you know what? Let's get stuck into this because we'll talk about a couple of the other things.
Can I start with an apology for anyone who's listened to the last couple of episodes of my audio? Because it's been fucking disastrous. That's one of the tech things. So apologies, people who've listened either on Spotify or on YouTube. On YouTube is a little bit more forgiving because at least you can look at my ugly face. But on Spotify it must be horrendous, so I apologise. I think it's fixed now. I think we're good. I'll tell you when I edit this episode. I'll put a caveat in if it's not. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, so let's get straight into it. Dan, what you been playing?
Right, I will start with one that I played off the back of Summer Games Fest. So I downloaded and played the opening story prologue of Amsterdam 1666. And man, was it weird.
Really?
So... Yes, it's very strange. Amsterdam 1666. I don't think anyone really still knows what it's about other than witches. It's got kind of a vibe of Blair Witch Project about it, but not the movie, not the same thing. It's like, you know, the scratchy writing and kind of the flash cuts and things like that make it feel a bit similar. It's not Blair Witch. So the prologue, I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about what the prologue is, and it's very odd. So it opens with a young lady exploring a library. Let's call it that. Her father's passed away and left her some, I think it's a manuscript that she can't read. So she takes to one of her father's old friends, and you have to do a little bit of searching around. It's very clunky, but searching around the library for a way to understand the manuscript. And I get it. It's trying to teach you the mechanics of how the game will play and some of the button layouts, which are a tiny bit odd. That's supposed to be set in modern day. And yet they look like they're in outfits from the 1940s. So that was the first thing that threw me a little bit, because what happens once you do that is she then starts telling a story, and she's like, he starts telling a story. One of them starts telling a story about it all. It all happened back in the turn of the millennium. So it then flashes back to the year 2000. You're like, oh, I was in, I'm jumping back, but I looked like I was in olden day clothes. Weird. So you then jump to, the lady's mum and her partner, or what was her dad, walking around the hotel, going to her room, and then holding this ritual. At which point, and they have sexy time. And at which point, the man then jumps into the body of a cat in Amsterdam in 1665, and you run around as a cat for a little while.
I'm in.
Right?
Cat game.
And then, yeah, I've forgotten the very start of it, but then you jump off a tree, scratch a woman in the face, and the demo ends. At the very start, you start in 1665, like before the library bit, as the character whose face you scratch, walking down a lane, teaching you some of the how to cast magic tricks, and then you select which cat you want as your guardian, or your like familiar, I guess is a normal term for which pets. It's all very strange. It looks lovely, don't get me wrong, and this guy's been developing this for 16 years. So this is created by the original creator of Assassin's Creed. He's been working on it for 16 years. You can see a lot of love and attention's gone into the game. There's a lot of detail in there. It's very clunky. It still needs a lot of work, I feel. One of my favourite bits is when you're walking up the stairs in the library and it just looks like you're floating across stairs as you're walking up. And I was like, why? She is a witch. No. It's just bad game design at the moment. So yeah, I would, if you've watched Summer Games Fest and you liked the look of it, I would, go and download it. If you've got a Steam account, I think it'll pretty much run on anything. It looks like it would at the moment. Yeah, it's very pretty. It plays okay.
It sounds so. Do you think the demo has obviously been hacked around a bit
totally.
To not give too much? So do you not think, though, playing the demo might put some people off then? Because like I said, I think it could. Disjointed.
I think it could. It's very disjointed. It's unusual in that it doesn't give you, it's a story prologue that doesn't really tell you much of the story.
Yeah.
And really, to go from being in 1665, jumping straight forward into present day, jumping back to 2020, I get they're trying to tell a story, then jumping into a cat's body in 1665. It's like, what, when is the game set? What am I doing? Now, that could be the whole part of the thing, right? Maybe he's trying to pull a Kojima and just go, look, it's magic that all works together, but he hasn't got the, he hasn't got the chops to do that because he hasn't built up that kind of, we all loved Assassin's Creed, the original, but it was the original. And like we said the other day, it wouldn't hold up to today's lofty standards of video games. So, it might put some people off. Did I walk away thinking I wouldn't? I definitely walked away going, that's probably not a day one. Do you know what I mean? It's probably, I would pick it up. It might have to be in a sale or something like that. Bearing in mind though, and I have to caveat this, it didn't give you any of the proper gameplay mechanics other than at the start how to cast a spell. The reason I know it's not a full part of the story of the full game is because as you're walking down the lane after casting your first spell, it comes up with this is a presentation by these people who've lovingly designed this game, and you're kind of walking through the words that they've put on screen saying, please remember, this is just, I think, but, like I said, it's, I do appreciate when they do this kind of thing. They're like, look, I know it's been a long time. We want to let you see it. Here it is, but it's not finished, and I get that. But yeah, interesting, but not quite there yet.
Okay.
Other than that, I have had a bit of a PlayStation renaissance. The reason being, I
got a new toy, haven't you? You got a new toy, haven't you?
I said to you the other day while we were on the pod about watching the PlayStation State of Play. I went, I'm going to have to buy a PlayStation Pro now, aren't I?
Can I just tell how it went? You said that. And then you messaged me after, you said something, the PlayStation 5 Pros really sound like a good thing now. And I said, Dad, just get it, because you know you are. Just cut the time.
I think you said you've mentioned it twice in the last 24 hours. You're definitely going to buy one.
That's it. I said, you mentioned it twice, 24 hours, you're going to get one. And then what was it? Next day, I'll get a message, I've done something, I've done a thing. And then it was your order. Yeah.
So, yeah, I did. I went and bought a PlayStation Pro. I don't have to justify it to you people, but I did buy it because, look,
it's for the pod. It's for the pod.
Wolverine, God of War, Laufey, all of these games coming out that are essentially only ever good. We know they're not coming to PC now, right? So, yeah, I treated myself, and by God, those games look stunning, right? And I'll explain. I do have a fancy 120 hertz LG C4 OLED TV, which I think you have to have that kind of thing to get the best out of a PS5 Pro. So, yeah, I set it all up, pumped a load of games onto it. So far, I've got through. So I went back to Ghost of Yotei and played maybe 3 or 4 hours of that. Really enjoyed it. Looks even, if that game couldn't get more beautiful, it looks even more. It looks stunning. Runs beautiful 60 frames a second with all the ray tracing, beautiful things turned on. Then I stuck Control on because we talked about Control with Resonant coming up. I wanted to get through. I had a game that I was maybe quarter of the way through in New Game Plus. I went back and I've picked that up again with the enhanced edition for PS5 Pro. Again, I love what Remedy do, and it just looks even better. A stunning frame rate with all the bells and whistles switched on. It's lovely. Then I stuck God of War Ragnarok on for a couple of hours because I wanted to try that, and then I went back to Control because I loved it so much and played that for another few hours. So yeah, I've also stuck Spider-Man 2 on there, and Black Myth Wukong. So I will go back and give those a go and see what they look like and how they perform. I'm a magpie. I love shiny things, Dan. And I'm going to say this very quietly so Joey doesn't hear. I don't think there's any benefit of having it on the PS5 Pro, but I did download also Bloodborne. So I'm going to give that a go at some point in the near future, maybe.
Nice, fair play.
Yeah. But other than that, I haven't played anything else because I really wanted to kind of get into those. So my PC is feeling very neglected at the moment.
And to be fair, again, we've recorded 4 episodes this week, so we've not had a lot of time. We'll be back to normal.
I haven't. Yeah, definitely. And look, with September fast approaching, there's a glut of games that we're going to have to be talking about, right? So, what have you been playing?
Sorry, just before I forget, because I saw before we come on, actually 2 things. Bloodborne, when I briefly had a PlayStation 4, I remember playing that and it felt far more accessible than a Dark Souls game. I remember
I played it. I got a few hours into it. I can't remember exactly where I got to, but I think I got a good 2 or 3 hours into it, and then I got to, I think it's the guy in the graveyard that Joey and I spoke about on our episode. Father Gascoigne, I think it is. And I just kept getting mullered and couldn't work out how to do it, so I gave up. I think I'm going to go back and start from the beginning again.
Okay.
And see how I get on. Yeah. I'm determined to master parrying and that not Dark Souls games, but I just want to get better at them a little bit. So I can actually, do you know what I mean? So, because I'm crap at to parry timing and stuff. So maybe I should go back to the samurai one instead.
The other thing, you talk about September, and last week, if you've not checked them out, last week we did 2 episodes. We gave you a cheeky bonus episode that covered all the big game shows, game events, and you and I were discussing how September is basically just become stacked with games. Because people are trying to avoid November. But I saw literally just before we come on, there are 2 games that are going to take GTA on in November. Have you seen what they are?
Is it what's the launch date of GTA? 15th?
I think it's 15th of November.
October.
I don't think you'll get one of them. I think it's November, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. I'm going to pretend I know something about GTA. Yeah, it's definitely that, Dan.
You won't know. I don't think you'll guess one of them.
I'm not even going to try them.
Well, one
is it Mass Effect?
No, don't. No, if only. 19th November. GTA. No, one of them is a Godzilla game. There's a Godzilla game that's coming out. But do you know the other one?
No.
Now I normally buy all these games that this company do, but I'm not going to get this one for no reason other than it's just not my thing. But you know, it's Digital Eclipse do all those like collections. So I've got what have I got? I've got the Mortal Kombat, the Atari, Karateka one they've done, Jeff Minter one. They're now doing one for Barbie. They're doing a collection of Barbie games that comes out the week before.
Why are you not getting that?
Well, do you know what? To be fair, I've never played them.
That feels like your bag.
To be fair, I've never played them.
You never played them yet.
But yeah, that's coming out a week before GTA apparently. So there are companies that are willing to go up.
God, Barbie goes up against you had Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Didn't you? So maybe this is
that's going to be a
Barbie.
Clash of demographics, isn't it? For
Barbie and Grand Theft Barbie.
Grand Theft Barbie, yeah.
Nice.
The collaboration you never thought you wanted. Right. What have I been playing? I've played a mix of games. Completed Resident Evil 9 and do you know what? Loved it. It's probably my favourite.
Finished it already?
Yeah. Do you know, it's not actually that long a game.
13 to 14 hours, wasn't it? I think they launched.
Yeah.
And nobody complained about it. And then James Bond come out and they all went, oh, God, it's only 20 hours. What the fuck is wrong with people?
It's not actually that long a game. And as I said, it kind of moves at a fair pace as well. Having completed it now, there's only one section of the game where it feels like a bit of padding. There's a classic, you need to build a detonator and it's got 3 pieces that are spread around the map. So you've got to go get each piece. But even that, it never felt like sort of trudge work or, sort of monotonous. But honestly, I think it's my favourite one of the series. Mainly, like I said, because I'm more of a newbie, Resi fan than OG. But it's just the mix between the two characters in terms of the gameplay style, the way it looks, the fact that it feels like a classic Resi game. The vibe, the not the mansion, but the hospital you're going around. It's not necessarily chock full of gross enemies, but there are a number of quite disturbing big monsters you have to fight. And like I said, with the introduction of that Grace, I think she's a great character. Whether she'll appear in any other ones, I don't know. But yeah, and the other good thing I did with that, so I was playing that on both the system you gave me as a makeshift Steam machine.
Yes, yeah.
But also on the Steam Deck, I think I mentioned it last week, with the cloud save, it was great being able to just pick up, do it for 20 minutes on the Steam Deck. Yeah. So
did you not try the streaming thing yet from the other machine?
Yet. No, not
you
yet.
should give it a go. It works. I've used it before from this thing. It's just streaming a game.
Yeah.
But it works nicely.
No, I'll give it a go. But yeah, so obviously, I'll look forward to Resident Evil Veronica coming out next. But yeah, I think when you can get it at sort of a cheap price, I think you might like this.
30 quid on a PC. Well, that's what I said. I sent you that thing the other day. I unloaded it. It's 30 quid at the moment. And I was like, I am a little bit tempted to maybe pick it up. If it, like you said, it's more accessible as a Resi game. And I did like 4. I enjoyed 4. I think it's the only one of the very few that I finished. Probably the only one that I finished, actually, thinking about it. But yeah. Oh, no, I've done 2 back in the day. I think it was 2 and 4 I've done. The others, meh.
But it is quite cool in this game. I mean, it's not secret because it's known when you go back to Raccoon City and you're going into the police station. It's a great. I know games have often done that, and it might be a bit cliche, but it's done really well in terms of what you find as you go around as well.
Nice, man. Yeah, good job finishing it.
Yeah. So Resident Evil 9. Oh, you mentioned loaded. Do you want to tell people what you sent me today?
I don't want to set hairs running, but I'm pretty sure it's a placeholder. I sent Dan an image of the placeholder for GTA 6 on Loaded, retailing at £89.99, and just put laughing on it, just because on the Xbox I was just like, that. It's got to be a joke, man. Well, they said it wasn't going to be 100. They're holding up their end.
All right. Let's move on. The next game I played is one that it was in one of the shows, wasn't it?
Christmas, I think. It was the Christmas show. Yeah.
Yes. So I picked up the 7th Guest remake. So I've got that on the Xbox. Playing on the Xbox. it's a fun little game. It's, having not played the original, but had always wanted to, I've read some reviews about it. They have kind of redone it. So I saw they've changed the story.
What is it? I've never played it, so I don't know what is it?
Okay, so you're someone who ends up going to this mansion, and when you go there, you're kind of seeing ghostly images of...
Right.
So basically, some time ago, the owner of the mansion, or I think it was a toy maker, invites 6 people of various sort of prominence in society, 6 people to for an evening there. And he's got them all there, and he's given them a room that's got puzzles in, and he's told them if they can solve it, he can give them something that they really desire.
Right.
But if I remember it correctly, these people were never seen again. Now you're the 7th guest who's come all these years later.
Right.
And you're seeing these sort of ghostly memories sort of around the mansion. And what you do, you go into all the rooms and you're solving the puzzles that were given to them. So it's just one massive puzzle game.
Got you.
So you go into a room, there'll be 2 or 3 puzzles. You solve those. When you do, another room will open up. You go and solve
Is there jeopardy involved?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. It does feel like you're going in and you're trying to put the story together of what happened. And there's a subtext, I think, of some children. He was a toy maker, and I don't know if he did something dastardly with the toys that sort of kill some children. I don't know if that's a subplot. I'm kind of going along in that. But it's a weird game because you've got like this sinister undertone of death and deception. But the rest of the game, when you first start it feels quite sort of kitsch and quite fun and silly,
right.
If you know what I mean.
Light-hearted, that.
Yeah, it's like, like a proper... If we go back to the 90s on BBC TV where you've got the British actors doing those like little skits and stuff, it kind of comes across as that, the full motion video, it comes
right.
across as that.
Oh, has it got FMV in, is it?
Yeah. It's all the apparitions.
I was interested till you mentioned that.
Well, that's the whole point was the original game. Yeah, the original game, I think, was the first... Was it one of the first games to be on CD-ROM, I think?
Quite possibly.
And while this is called the remake, I think it's actually a remastering of something they did 10 years ago where they turned it into a VR game. So you could play it in VR. But yeah, from what I understand, they've expanded the story. They've expanded the FMV sections to make it a bit more flowing, the story.
Right. I take it they've redone the FMV. Yeah, with new actors and stuff, rather.
Yeah, but it's a cool game. It's a fun game. It's puzzles. So like I said, some of them, they're the classic sort of fare that you'll see. Like one, you have to put. There's a chessboard. You've got 8 queens, and you have to put them all on the board so they don't take another one out. So you have to put
that
them
classic. Yeah, if you know the rules of chess, you'll be all right. One of those.
that kind of thing. What else is there? Yeah, there's kind of like like where you've got to get a car out the blocked car park. There's loads of cars and. Yeah. But this is coffins, substitute cars for coffins and a car park for a graveyard.
Sure.
So it's all things like that. But what they've done is they've made it accessible as well in that around the mansion, you can also find coins. And for each puzzle, you get a really obscure clue. And I mean, the clue probably might as well not have written it because the first clue is almost pointless. Then the next clue will give you a bit more guidance on what you need to do. But then if you're totally stuck, you can spend a coin to auto-solve the puzzle.
Ah, okay.
So you'll never be totally stuck. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. At first I was a bit, the character was very stuttery. As in, it felt like the game was lagging, but that only lasted for a few minutes.
Right. It's
weird. So when you crouch, it's almost like straight away. It's no like gradual crouch. It is like down and up, down and up like that. Yeah. But look, it's fun. If you're into puzzle games and a bit of fun sort of FMV, so I don't know how far I am. I think I'm about halfway through. So
yeah, nice. Yeah. Well, you did say you were going to treat yourself to 7th Guest remake, so you made good on your promise at least, and reported back on it.
Yeah. And the next game I started, so I finished Resi. So the 7th Guest is like my side game. the main game now, I decided to go for, because I wasn't going to play Silent Hill F, but I didn't want to play another scary game straight after another one. So, that's not the reason. But I started Ghost of Tsushima, because I'd obviously never played that.
Yeah, it's such a good game.
I honestly didn't know what to expect, because I hadn't really, because I couldn't play it, I'd not really seen too much about it. And obviously I hadn't realised it's like 6 years old now. And obviously Yotei had come out, so I've more sort of followed that. But yeah, it's really good, isn't it? It looks great. I mean, I've got it, like I said, running on the improvised Steam machine. Probably about 4 or 5 hours into it, so I'm not far at all. I'm taking my time to explore. Oh yeah,
it's a long
world.
Game.
Yeah,
lots of exploration, the opening battle for me was amazing. It just looks stunning. I'm surprised I can remember that far back. But yeah, I think it's a gorgeous game. I do keep meaning to go back to it, because I think I was right at the very end and I never finished it completely. I was still going off doing bits and pieces before like the final boss fight or whatever it is you do at the end. But yeah, I love that game, and that was why I bought Yotei, because it was so strong. Sucker Punch done such a good job with that.
Yeah. No, I'm really enjoying it so far, because there's so much to do in there. So you've got the undiscovered locations, you've got the fox dens where you follow the fox to like a shrine. I did my first, where you got to cut the bamboo, like the little mini
bamboo
game.
strikes, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm also really enjoying is kind of I know I'm very early on in the story, but the whole conflict that the main character's having about wanting to honour the code that his uncle's taught him. But that first character you meet, she tells you basically to be like a thief. She goes, you've got to mix it up. And there's a bit where you assassinate someone from, you do a stealth assassination. And there's a flashback to his uncle, and it's almost like you can see the inner conflict he's having with himself going against that code. Which
it's the age-old samurai versus ninja, and I think what I love about Ghost of Yotei is it takes that, but almost does away with the conflict element. It's out of necessity in Ghost of Yotei. It's almost like someone who's been raised understanding the code, but also knowing there has to be a different way to do things to get the revenge that she seeks. And all of the mechanics that are in Ghost of Tsushima are kind of taken to their next natural progression in Ghost of Yotei. It's almost, the whole game is a lot more abstract in terms of its approach to quests and finding things than, because Ghost of Tsushima was much better than something like Assassin's Creed that holds your hand quite a lot to get to things or puts markers on maps. Yes, they are in Tsushima, but you find them a little bit more naturally. Ghost of Yotei does away with even more of that and just kind of goes, actually, I'm just going to throw a few things your way and you'll stumble across things naturally, almost dynamically. And I love it for that, because I love Ghost of Tsushima for going another step, and then Ghost of Yotei takes it a step further, and it feels a lot more natural. You don't feel like you're being forced down a pathway. It feels like I could just fuck off and do whatever I want and find, so yeah, it's a great game though. Really good game.
Yeah. And that's what I like. Actually, a really good point is, so all these games have like a pathfinding mechanic, right? But this one, it's like the wind.
Yeah.
So, rather than a big glowing arrow or something, it's, you can call on the wind at any point.
How do you do it on, that's interesting. How do you do it on the pad? Because on the plates, you have to swipe up on the touchpad. How do you do it on the...
Okay. It's actually quite awkward if you're moving at the time, but if not, it's right on the D-pad, which brings up 4 options, and I think it's up on the right stick.
Okay. So, yeah, because you don't have the...
so that will give you, the right on the D-pad will give you things like that, and the playing the flute to change the weather. So, yeah, that's all from the D-pad. But
you know what you need, Dan? You need a Steam controller, because you could map it to the touch pad.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you go. There you go. No. Right.
No.
Let's
not do that. Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So, so that's what we've been playing. Dan, over to you for housekeeping, because you do it better. So,
thank you, mate. I do love that you've marked it on our show notes in bright red, because we were bolding it and that wasn't working. So now it's in bright red.
I was actually going to go for the bigger font, but I thought that would
flashing neon. That's a little peek behind the curtain, people. So, people, if you are enjoying or do enjoy the episodes that we've put out so far, of which there have been this will be 60. So happy 60th Dan. Please do like and subscribe, click the buttons, do what you do. It doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but it means the world to me and Dan, because we get a perspective of how many people like the shit that we do. And then you come back and you'll see when our videos get posted, and you can leave some lovely comments for us, as Dan's about to talk about now, I think.
Yeah, so please do leave us comments, because you might feature in what we lovingly call Comment Corner. So over
At least you can pronounce it.
Yeah, so over on YouTube, and yeah, if you are, I know I say it each week, but if you're listening on audio platform, please do let me try to tease you, tempt you to go over to YouTube, because Dan does fantastic stuff on our videos each week. So yeah, see, have a look at us. Right, Comment Corner. So on YouTube, this was on. This was on the episode where we talked about bait and switches and over promise, under deliver. So there was a video where I just asked people to shout out if they had any, and someone named Rolando de Leon said, "Now I've not heard of this game, but I checked it out. But it's a game. You should do Kamen Rider Superhero Climax. It has a lot of bugs, and I've not heard of it. It's a fighting game. Had you ever heard of that?
Nope.
No, so I did look it up, and apparently one of the big bugs it did have was, if not yours, the opponent fighter would just disappear. Could just disappear, meaning you couldn't finish the battle.
That's a significant bug. That's a cyberpunk worthy bug. That is. I can't finish the quest.
There might be an episode in bugs. Did you ever remember Big Rigs, the Big Rigs game?
Is it about like articulated lorries?
Oh yeah. Oh Dan, I'll send you something afterwards. Oh, okay. It'd be brilliant if you've never seen that. Right, on the video about talking about Metal Gear Solid 2 and the Raiden switch, Game Club Pod. So Joey messaged saying, "Loved Metal Gear Solid 2. I also loved that Vamp, the boss in the game, is voiced by the same guy that voiced Hermes in Futurama." Now, I didn't know that. I don't know.
Which was Hermes?
I don't know. I was hoping you would shout that out, because
I'm glad we're both up on our Futurama. Joey, which one's Hermes?
Well, to be fair, we're not cartoon views.
I can't hear him. I don't know what he's saying. He's in the cupboard.
And Frosty said, because I started the video saying, before you all start shouting at me, I know it wasn't a bait and switch. Frosty said, too late, I'm already shouting. So sorry, Frosty.
That guy. Guy.
On the Cyberpunk one, we were talking about Cyberpunk, Kempan ran the game day one on my old GTX 1060 3GB, and surprisingly had way less issues than the average day one player. Nothing that bothered me ever, which I think you replied saying you must be one of the fabled
lucky ones. Yeah.
And they said, yeah, I must have been. Yeah. And laugh. On TikTok, on the Steam Deck price video where you discussed the raising in price, Nuka UK said, yeah, it's probably because of the material costs like RAM and such. But then Ash then responded with, maybe so, but they're now pitching themselves nearer the price bracket of newer, more powerful handhelds, which is absolutely fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I don't know what Steam are doing at the moment. It's, there's so many videos and people commenting on it. I'm just not going to bother. But where's my Steam machine and Half-Life 3 people?
Yeah, I think I led that down a false avenue.
I only need one of those now, by the way. I just need Half-Life 3. I don't care about the Steam machine anymore.
Yeah, and MB said, tried buying RAM or GPUs lately, blame AI. Yeah, and with regards to Half-Life 3, so the Game Club Pod streamed the Summer Games Fest. I spoke to Joey in the day and said, I think the Steam machine's going to get a proper date announcement, and they'll also announce Half-Life 3. You jumped into the stream and said, why the hell have you got Half-Life 3 on there?
And my language is slightly stronger.
Yeah, what idiot has said that? And they said, your co-host. So
I said another words with you. Dan, what are you thinking?
The fact they didn't announce it means that it's definitely on the way. Right, let's move on to... It's all subterfuge, Dan. It's even bigger news.
Sure.
Right, let's move on to news. Now, it's been a bit of a hard one to get some news in the last few days, in the sense of it's, quite obviously everything's been focused around the game shows and talking about the games.
Yeah, I don't want to... I get, yes, but you got to remember, what we should have thought of is there is always someone or a number of someones off the back of these things making stupid mistakes coming out the back of it. Well, didn't we have one year, we had the guy who did the game that was like Portal and Halo mixed together. I can't remember what it was called, who came out and basically saying, wearing a MAGA type cap that said make FPS great again or something like that, and started saying how we all needed Titanfall 2 and Call of Duty was shit, and I can't remember his name, but you always get some idiot or something that happens, you go, oh, that'll make some good news, and I bet you've got some of those in here.
Well, do you know what? I'm not picking up Twitter and social media as always. Some of the game reveals has turned into total
screw that
face palm, which I'm not talking about. There are some stories or a couple of stories related to games that were shown rather than being about games. So the first one taken from, it's all over the place, but I took this from PC Gamer, and this is generative AI was only used as a reference. Crazy Taxi creator says artists would look at the generated image and draw the actual thing. Now, I'll go into it a little bit, but basically everyone has been quite annoyed, upset, and shaking their head at the devs for this game because of they've put a statement on the site about generative AI. Now, so there's been some update. Well, so the original story was where we got it. People are disappointed because Crazy Taxi World Tour, a game that the author here was reasonably excited for, was made with help from generative AI. At Sega Corporation, we utilized generative AI as a support tool for developers, aiming to provide better content to our users and enable developers to focus more on creative tasks. No AI was used in reference to the performers in the game. Now, fans on social media are always not happy, and they're saying using AI slop to make shit for you, more like Lazy Taxi. Someone said lazy taxi rather than Crazy Taxi. Another one calling it Lazy Taxi. Someone said, you know what, I think I'll just walk home. Now, there's been some updates to the story actually from when I put it on the list today. Now, series creator Kenji Kano defended it as merely a tool used by artists who created the content used in the game. We used it as a reference so our artists would generate some ideas and then they would look at that generated image and draw the actual thing. So the actual creators, everything from programming to assets, everything is made by an actual human. Gen AI was only used as a reference to look at, and we would then make the thing for the game. Now, just before I hand over to you, I think the original statement was quite clear in that they're saying they're not putting Gen AI assets into the game. But yeah, Dan, talk to me.
The minute you mention Gen AI or AI of any sort, people will automatically jump to the fact that it's been used to create the game or to code or to do. Oh, I get it, right? And they're doing essentially exactly a similar thing that I do with our thumbnails, right? I ask for some ideas, I look at something and then I go, oh, I can recreate that and I'll do that, right? Because I'm too lazy. My brain's too lazy to think up really cool ideas. I probably could, but I don't. So, yeah, spoiler alert. So, but I get it. Yeah, I mean, maybe just don't announce it. I mean, why?
They've been too honest, yeah.
Yeah, if I used to do a really good drawing at home and trace it and take it to school and show the teacher, I didn't just tell them I traced it. Do you know what I mean? It's the same, it's fundamentally the same thing. Just can't argue that. So just don't announce it. My favourite thing on this was, I was reading an article earlier on it. And I think one of the people at Sega had responded and said, it wouldn't have been possible to get it out without the use of Gen AI. And somebody responded and went, you fucking made one of these 30 years ago without Gen AI. What are you talking about? Which I thought was just brilliant. Couldn't possibly you made one in 1997, dude. Like, what, or 1999 or whatever. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a funny one, this. Look, with Steam now having this AI disclosure, they probably went above and beyond in terms of what they had to do. But, look, people, I think we're going to see this a lot more. And look, I know it's not the same, but for everyone complaining, have you used ChatGPT have you asked ChatGPT a question, or have you used it to do a funny image? Like those, like cartoon images and stuff that are going around. I know it's not the same in terms of making a game with it, but I think we all need to just chill for a second when we see this. Take a minute, and then
Although,
see what the
I
actual
don't want
story is.
expensive RAM then, so part of them's going, yeah, fuck AI. So one of the comments on this, sorry, you're reading the article from PC Gamer, but one of the comments on this is absolutely right. Top comment just says, "I think the point is that it looks down like awful, regardless of whether it was made by real artists or AI." And it's not wrong. The game looked absolutely tonk. It was just. It looked so rubbish. And I'm sorry, Sum 41 belongs late 90s, early 2000s. Just keep it there. Thanks.
For more on music views, catch us next week. Yeah, I just think it's interesting how this AI thing, it's going to be interesting to see more and more how when games are disclosing it now to see what happens. But yeah, look, watch your space.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Also from PC Gamer, I included this because I always find it funny. We talked, a similar thing happened with David Jaff for God of War, but this is Cliff Bleszinski, who created
Cliffy B.
Gears of War. He's given E-Day his official seal of approval now.
Has he now? That's interesting.
Well, having originally been a bit tentative about it. So basically, it was revealed in the Xbox showcase as a console exclusive now. They showed a good few minutes of it at the start, and then they had a whole E-Day show afterwards, didn't they? It was about half an hour or so. Now, one of the people waiting with anticipation for it was Cliff Bleszinski. Now, on Twitter just before it, he said, I don't know if you can see the article there, he put the gif of Marlon Brando in The Godfather where he's talking about
Did you say gif?
Oh, it should be a gif, I know that.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks.
Look, we've already just talked about AI. I don't want to start another battle. Look how they massacred my boy. Oh no, there we go. Yeah. So he said, I hope I don't have to use this. But then as it's gone on, he then said his next tweet was, those locusts are dying mighty easy, just saying. But then he finished with it saying, so yeah, E-Day looks great, amazing feature set, great tech improvements, and most importantly, looks like it has heart on top of all sorts of insane violence and destruction. Now get off my fucking lawn already. Now, the reason I added this is, look, he's not been part, I think he left Epic, when did he leave? Was it in 2012? Yeah, 2012. But I always wonder when something that, you put your heart and soul into it and it's carrying on without you, do you kind of look over the shoulder, over the fence?
Maybe. He's done all right, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I keep seeing pictures of, I think he's become more of a social media dude than I know he's done some stuff. He created a game that didn't do particularly well. I think, again, a live service game. Oddly, before live service games were a thing. But it still didn't do very well. Lawbreakers, that was it, yeah. But I haven't seen him do much. I know he said he's working on some stuff. I always liked Cliffy B back in the day. He was always he was a bit of a knobhead, but he was I like Gears of War, so he was forgiven for everything else. I do wonder after stuff that these people tweet out, they look at it and they go, have I typed just the right words to make sure I get enough of a reaction from it? Like those locusts are dying mighty easy, just saying comment. It's it didn't look like they were dying that easy. Like, I played Gears of War, mate. It was very similar. But it must be hard to look back on something and go, oh, I hope they do all right by it.
And look, and if I think it would have been easy for him to have criticised it, and then you throw in, which I'll mention shortly, throw in the whole exclusive reveal and stuff, and then you would have had a complete other sort of carnage sort of unfolding. But yeah, no, fair play to him for kind of saying, it looks like it's in good hands. So yeah, roll on E-Day.
Roll on E-Day, which isn't very far away.
No, October, right? So
yeah, too many games.
Right, over to Kotaku. And Microsoft explains its reversal on exclusives. We want people to have a reason to buy an Xbox. Now, this has come from, and I digress here already. This has thrown up the usual or the predicted reactions. So the Sony fanboys laughing and saying, oh, I don't want those. It literally was for E-Day. You can keep your shitty game, Xbox fans. bearing in mind that this same person, I think, was quoted as being quite excited when it was announced as potentially being on the PlayStation. Xbox announced this plus Clockwork Revolution, didn't they, as Xbox exclusives. So people have already started criticising Microsoft for that, even though Sony have also said they're doing the same thing. But that's a whole other thing we can comment after. But yeah, it's basically is coming down to now people asking what Microsoft first party games are going to be Xbox exclusives. So mentioned E-Day and Clockwork Revolution. Fable is still coming to PS5, and Senua, the latest game in the Hellblade franchise, it will also be multi-platform. Now, Asher Sharma has said, we want people to choose Xbox because of great games and experiences. That also means giving you something that was made for Xbox. Gears of War, E-Day and Clockwork Revolution will be Xbox console exclusives. They elaborated after some comments that these are not timed exclusives, and games already announced for multi-platforms will stick to the plan. We're committed to investing in growing Xbox both on console and beyond. So, you know, we've said this before that, you know, she's coming and she is making the right moves. We said, you know, need to be judged on the actions. I think the exclusives is probably even though I'm probably against exclusives as a whole, if that's what Sony are going back to doing, I think Microsoft almost have to not retaliate like kind of in kind for a sort of tit-for-tat thing, but just because ultimately there has to then be the reason to stay on the Xbox ecosystem, right? Especially with a new console, possibly a pricey one coming out next year.
I don't think this has helped them. I think this is a knee-jerk reaction to people. So you know they did this feedback portal, and the top thing on there was we want exclusives back. And I think this is a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think they've had time to get their shit together to actually put a proper response in. So I think this just muddies the water, in my personal opinion. You know, Gears of War E-Day, we know it exists on the PS5 coded for it, sitting on a server somewhere in the developers' offices. We know it exists, right? So it's not like... So I suspect that there's been a bit of back and forth between probably the legal teams around contractually what can they get out of and what can they do in time to stop this. Because let's be honest, right? Exclusives, if we get down to the nub of what people are talking about, we're exclusives. We're talking about system sellers, right? That's what we're really talking about, because that's what exclusivity has to mean, you know, on a commercial level for Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation. It has to be a system seller. Otherwise, what's the point of having an exclusive, right? Because you can only buy it on that platform. E-Day and even Clockwork Revolution, as good as it looks, neither of which are system sellers. They are not things that people go, I am going to go and buy it. So for me, it's like, it's really confusing. And even since then, they've kind of come out and said, well, you know, we'll pick and choose which ones. And you're like, well, go and buy your current standards. You're doing a fucking shit job of it, because, you know, something like Fable could potentially be a system seller. Halo wouldn't be now. Like, you know, Campaign Evolved looks lovely, but it's not a system seller. I'm not sure they've got anything. I think they've spent too long in the background. You know, PlayStation built this amazing catalogue of characters and games. You know, Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, Spider-Man. You can reel off all of these things and go, fucking hell, I bought a PlayStation Pro for, you know, some of those games.
Yeah, but what I would say to you on that though, a lot of those games are on the PC, so you can play them. And I agree with you
for now.
Yeah, for now,
right?
But what I agree with you. Well, Sony still haven't confirmed.
It's not. They said in a town hall, didn't they, at Sony, that they were no longer going to put games out on the PC.
But what I would say to you is, I agree with you that those games alone aren't system sellers. But they've got to start somewhere, because for me, what I would say to you is, imagine next year, Elder Scrolls 6 get announced, and that's a console exclusive.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I think this is just the start, and I think it's feeling. Look, I still think 18 months, 2 years down the line, I think this is let's get fans back on side. I think a couple of years,
totally.
They'll put games back out on the PlayStation, etc.
I think so. Yeah,
but I think you're right. I think this is a quick win in terms of, look, we're turning the ship around. We're listening. But it's going to come down to some of those studios, those first-party studios like Bethesda, making those console exclusive. And especially, like I said, if they were to make the next Elder Scrolls exclusive, I think that would change
I think
things.
Phil Spencer at the time had a vision that was, in my mind, probably the right direction, which was, look, if we open our doors and start putting these things on Sony's platform and Nintendo's platform, maybe it'll be reciprocal. So by the time we launch, the next console, actually we'll be able to get some of those really great games. And I'm not suggesting the really pinnacle of PlayStation games, but certainly some of the others. We might get some of those because they're already developed for PC, right? And Helix is going to be a hybrid. I think that was his plan. It didn't happen. It didn't come off. Sony actually battened down the hatches further. Asher Sharma's come on board and kind of gone, oh, fuck, what do people want? And has capitulated to pretty much everything people have wanted, although you'll have noticed throughout the showcase that they still had the logos for PlayStation on a lot of the trailers and things, which people, again, were moaning about. So I think she's had to undo some of that work. Look, Sony are going to do Sony, Nintendo are going to do Nintendo. And I think Microsoft now and Xbox have to decide what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think their strategy is harder because of Helix. I think it's made all the more complex for them because they've decided their next console isn't a console. It's a PC in a box with an Xbox front end slapped on it.
Yeah. But what I would say, the thing I've got to say, though, about these games, again, not being necessarily system sellers, but I think what they do is potentially keep people in the Xbox ecosystem a bit longer, people that may jump. Because, again, if all these games were going to be multi-platform, potentially, could I then jump on to PlayStation because it's going to be on there? Yeah, but if not now, look, I'm not going to get a PlayStation just because a game will appear. But there will be some. We should do a buy and sell corner. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. Exclusives. I of the opinion more people that play games are better. But
I agree, right? But there's just finally on this, the commercial element for this, right? If you look at the studios and the games that Microsoft own now from an Xbox perspective, and I'm talking about your Activisions, your Bethesdas, they could, in theory, if they wanted to, they could go, fuck it, everything's exclusive on those platforms from now on. Right? You want system sellers.
That's exactly what I'm saying to you. Exactly what I'm saying to you. Those first party studios, Forza Horizon. Elder Scrolls, Fallout, make those
Doom. You want system sellers? Yeah. There you go, ready and willing. And this is why I think this has just muddied the water to go, well, we'll pick and choose.
Well, I think they're in a really difficult one at the moment because, they've had to do it quite quickly. Like I said, E-Day was advertised for the PS5.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So now they've made it. So I think they've had to make a quick decision.
But it's weird that is and Fable isn't. That isn't coming to PS5, but Fable is. It's a weird. That's what I mean by the muddiness. It's like it's not consistent messaging. It's just we'll pick some names out of a hat. Fuck it, E-Day and Clockwork Revolution.
Maybe they did. But look, let us know what you think about the Xbox announcements about exclusives. Because linked to that, this story actually came out before all the shows, and it's kind of disappeared. And look, there's caveats, but I'll read the story out first. This is from Eurogamer, and this was talking about PlayStation 5 hardware sales dropped dramatically in the UK last month versus Xbox. Now, this says, the article, current generation Xbox hardware sales have been low in major markets, registering its worst ever year in the UK last year, but fortunes almost turned in May when PlayStation suffered a big drop in its own sales. Now, so the PS5 hardware sales dropped by a shocking 50% during the month of May in the UK. The drop was almost enough for Xbox to catch up, but Sony maintained its lead. By the end of the month, PS5 hardware had outsold the Xbox Series XS consoles by just 400 units. Now,
wow, that's close.
What I would say about that, though, is firstly, PS5 had a 50% drop and they're still outselling Xbox by 400. I know it's not a lot, but it's still outselling it by 400 consoles. So it
shows you how many they're selling double what Xbox is selling in a normal month, right?
Yeah,
it's quite incredible.
Obviously, there was the price increases announced last month or a couple of months ago, and look, and also at the moment, I guess, games? Are there any, at the moment, are people waiting maybe till later in the year or when it's now? But what was the reason I say linking it into the previous one is, yes, it's only 1 month, but that's what I was saying about, do we think the exclusives for Xbox at the moment are just to try keep the sales they're getting because they are that much lower? And yeah, just try not to lose more ground at the moment. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it weird. When did the price rise happen? I don't know how coincidental that is. Because that wasn't.
I think it was last month, but I would have expected to see it rise because of that. Because I thought people rushed out.
Well, I think it did initially before the price rise kicked in, and then post that you'd have seen a drop because those people who were waiting on the razor's edge as to which one, whether they were going to buy one or not, this pushed them over and went, oh shit, I better buy one before it goes up. Then it went up. You haven't got those sales anymore. It'd be interesting to see what June looks like. But yeah, I was just having a flick through the article. But yeah, it was also worth noting that Saros was released on the 30th of April and hasn't helped Sony shift hardware, which is interesting as well, because that was Housemarque's new one off the back of Returnal, which did well. But Saros clearly hasn't, done the numbers to push hard. Again, talking about exclusives. I downloaded Returnal as well for PS5 Pro. Sorry, I forgot to mention that one earlier, but I haven't played it again. But yeah, look, I'm not going to, I love my PlayStation and I love both Sony and Microsoft equally. We've spoken about this before. I'm one of those weird people who also likes cats and dogs equally. But I hate seeing anyone who's struggling, but for me, I'm not sure Sony are hard up for cash, a bit like Microsoft. So I'm not that bothered when either of them go, we haven't sold we haven't sold as many, we haven't got billions, whatever.
Let's watch this space when games like Wolverine come out, because we've said for a while Sony hadn't really released one of these big epic single player games for a while. So I think let's talk about this maybe in October, a month after.
We will definitely talk about this in October.
Yeah. Well, you'll be talking about it in September, won't you? With Wolverine.
But we are going to see units of these in the multiples in October, November. We know that. Yeah, because of GTA 6, and it shifts consoles, and because it's now been confirmed that it is not coming to PC at launch, then we know they're gonna, people are gonna be clamoring to buy this stuff. Maybe a nice 25th anniversary horrible see-through green Xbox,
maybe green, maybe. Right, I want to quickly squeeze one last story in because I think this is an interesting one. This is something that's been rumbling on in the background. It's not a new thing, but it's never been to a point where I've raised it, but I think it's at a milestone now. Okay. So this is from the BBC. The game has taken on the industry to stop it switching off games. So, we're going back to the old chestnut about digital versus physical. So there is a consumer rights group called Stop Killing Games, started by an American YouTuber, Ross Scott, in 2024. Is challenging the fact that publishers can decide to switch off a game servers whenever it wants, leaving the game unplayable. In January this year, this is why it's an interesting one. In January this year, the group submitted a petition featuring nearly 1.3 million signatures to the European Commission, triggering a public hearing in the European Parliament in April. What began as an online campaign is now awaiting a decision from one of the EU's most powerful institutions. I think basically they've got till July. I need to go through it, but I think basically now the EU have to come back and give a response in the next couple of months. And look, what they're trying to do is obviously great. We want to keep games obviously going as long as they can, but it does come back to the whole thing we've discussed a number of times, isn't it? The live service and how any game, and a lot of the games aren't necessarily live services we think. One of the big ones that got shut off earlier this year, I think, was the Crew 2, the car game. That was in 2024, sorry. So, it's all sort of games that can just disappear. So, before I hand over to you, it's got to respond to the petition by 27th of July. So we'll keep an eye on that. What do you think? I mean, it's what do you say? It's a good thing to try to do.
It's a totally honourable thing. I love these sort of stories, and I love people who want to preserve, longevity of games and people's wallets, I guess, to an extent. I mean, we all buy games and then just they feel a bit throwaway these days. But he's not wrong. If I've bought something, surely I should be able to keep it. You can't just take it away from me when you decide you can't bother to support it anymore. There must be something you can do to mean that I can keep it. So I think it's admirable what they're doing. It's a bit weird that he's an American YouTuber and it's gone to the European Parliament, so it will have absolutely zero impact on the US or the UK now, because we're out of Europe. So actually it means nothing for either of those two countries. In Europe, yes, it has an impact if they win. I wonder what it would mean, because it says a bit on here about live service. I haven't read through the article, but it's interesting. We've talked frequently about, games like Highguard and Concord that, you've clearly purchased and then after a couple of months they've gone offline, never to be seen again. I wonder what's happened to all the people who bought it, because people did buy it, in their thousands. Did they get refunds?
Refunds. I think in that case there were refunds because it was so quick.
Right.
But yeah, and just for a little context, there was a French group, UFC Que Choisir, launched legal action against Ubisoft over the shutdown of the crew. The UK government has so far resisted calls for new legislation. A Stop Killing Games petition secured a parliamentary debate with over 100,000 signatures, but ministers said they have no plans to amend consumer law. Those selling games must comply with existing requirements in consumer law and will continue to monitor the issue. A UK chapter of the movement called Gamers Voice has also been drawn up, working alongside Scott on a more national level. Okay. In the United States, campaigners have backed California's proposed Protect Our Games Act, which would require publishers to keep games playable after online support ends or offers refunds. I guess the interesting thing is if a developer wants to sort of shut its game, but it's now been forced to keep it open, what's that going to look like? And is there a cost thing? Is it, they're not going to do the right thing because they want to a lot of the time, especially if they're being told to by a court, right? So.
And look, let's be honest, we all know, right, we love our games and we love playing games and we love, developers who make great games, but the majority of the publishing houses, for sure, not the devs, but the publishers, are there for one reason and one reason only: to make more money for their shareholders. That's just the simple fact of what it is, right? That's capitalism. It's what it is. It's happening. So, the worst case, and this could be detrimental if this succeeds, just looking at the other side of the coin, if you're then basically saying you have to keep this game supported ad infinitum, right? You can't ever take it away from me. And if it has servers in the back end supporting it, are developers, publishers going to think twice about developing games with that kind of longevity and make more of a one and done? You have it, you own it. It's never needs, to be, because there's still lots of kicking off about, a game needing to be online when you're playing it. And I agree, I don't need that in my game. I just want to stick a game in and play on it. I don't need you
by AI.
Yeah, I don't need you harvesting my data, which is essentially what you're doing anyway while I'm doing it. So yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy, I think, to kind of go, which way would it go? I just want to play some games and not play a lot for RAM.
I just want to play games as well. So look, let's move on to something cheerier. But look, if you'd like to comment on any of the news stories, you got any views on it, drop us a note on social media. Right.
Definitely.
Let's get on to the main subject of the episode. Some good news. We are celebrating, Dan, 35 years of Sonic the Hedgehog.
That should be happy times, shouldn't it? But
Incredible.
35 years. Wow.
Sonic is now, I can see him, he's sort of reaching to his lower back. He's like making noises as he's standing up and sitting down.
Sonic creaking.
Yeah, Sonic creaking.
Not running as fast.
Yeah.
It's a little bit slower.
Yeah. Look, I want to specifically talk about the first game, and there's actually some really interesting things I picked up. I learned about it, but just some quick numbers. Look, Sonic the Hedgehog has appeared in over 110 official games across the series, mainline series spin-offs and crossovers. That doesn't include titles set in the Sonic universe that don't revolve around Sonic, so like Shadow the Hedgehog. So if you include the Sonic verse, there's even more. The main 2D platformers account for 22 of the games, while 16 of them are 3D platformers. And on top of that, there have been 11 racing games and 9 Olympic games. A bunch of these haven't even been released in the US. This is the case with games that were part of what was called Sonic Cafe, as this was a mobile service only in Japan.
Okay.
There are 11 games that don't revolve around him. He may appear in them, but he's not the star. So basically what I'm trying to say is he's a mega star, right? But
There's a lot of games.
Yeah, but where did it all start and how did it all start? So Dan, I'm going to talk a lot about the game. I'm going to throw you some questions, but obviously as we're talking, just interrupt at any point. But the first thing I want to ask you, so when and what was your first experience with Sonic, which sounds dodgier than it needs to be, but yeah.
Well, it was a lovely sunny afternoon in the cowshed. I remember playing Sonic for the first time on, I don't think it was it mine? No, it would have been a friend's Mega Drive. I had a Mega Drive, but I think I played it on a friend of mine's Mega Drive first. And I remember, it being just something completely different. And by that, I mean, we'd all played platformers. We'd all played, your Marios and Bubble Bobble and things like that. But the speed at which this thing moved, it's almost like you had to make a life adjustment, to play the video game. You were like, I'm not used
out the side of the screen.
What happened? And then my rings are gone and I'm dead. And I distinctly remember playing, so Green Hill Zone was the first level, right?
Yep.
And getting to the end of that with Robotnik, you get to the stage at the end with the flat ground and you're fighting Robotnik. And it was the traditional hit the thing 3 times. And I was just rubbish at it. I mean, it was like Dark Souls. I'm like, why can't I do this? I can do this in Mario. I can hit Bowser 3 times. Why can't I do, and I think I persevered. I by this point, I think I probably had it on my own Mega Drive, by the way. So, I played it a few times and then got it for my own. And, I've never ever, and I will hold my hands up, I've never ever completed a Sonic game. I've never felt the need.
Anywhere near.
No, I've never felt the need to go more than a few levels in and go, oh yeah, at least I got the flavour of it. To me, and I know I'm completely wrong about this, and there would be people out there, from other podcasts who they listen to this show. I'm speaking particularly about TCGS, who will be saying, no, they're all fucking different. And to me, every Sonic game's the same. And I'm just like, because I don't think, the same platform, the spirally things and little spinnies that make you go faster. I don't, and look, I'll be fair, my brain can't keep up with it. That's probably the biggest problem. I don't think I then engaged with Sonic again until the one where they added like a 3D element into it. There were certain stages that were in 3D and you were like going around loops to pick things up. And I think that was probably again my next thing. I've never been a massive Sonic fan. I appreciate it for what it is. Yeah. I still don't understand why someone would assume hedgehogs run fast. Yeah. Like all the animals on the planet.
We will find out.
Fine. All right.
We will find out.
We know they can swim, but I'm not sure.
It could have been something else entirely. But I'm the same with you. Look, I didn't have a console back then when I were a lad, but I remember going to my mate's house and he had it and it blew me away. Just the speed. Then look, I'm like you. I've never been good at it. I've never completed a game and I will dabble in it, but I can appreciate the enduring legacy and the love. And when you see someone speed run a game, it's like poetry in motion.
Yeah.
But just seeing the speed blew me away. And so where did it start? Right. So we're going back again to the 80s and 90s where we were in our 30s. No, we're going back to the 80s and 90s. We're not that old. The 80s and 90s, Nintendo pretty much ruling the video game market.
Yes,
if you wanted a console, chances are you were getting a Nintendo. Sega coming along, trying to break into that market, but not having much luck. The Genesis hadn't built up a huge player base yet, and Nintendo didn't really see Sega as a serious threat. So, to shake things up, Sega of America CEO Michael Katz launched a famous, and we've discussed it, you brought it up, the Genesis does what Nintendo don't advertising campaign.
I still love that.
which is still brilliant,
It's
isn't
still
it?
brilliant.
Genesis
Totally.
does what Nintendo.
He should have a salary just for that.
That should have earned him a job for life there. And they teamed up with athletes and celebrities to create games. So the idea was ultimately to make Sega look cooler, edgier, and more exciting than Nintendo. So look, they clearly thought, we can't break their dominance. We need something different. And it was that, I think it was the loud music, wasn't it? We discussed it in an episode. I can't remember, but it's the...
We did, yeah. And we did, I'll look back at something. I'll find the card for it.
Yeah.
It's up there somewhere.
Yeah. The problem was that none of it worked. Nintendo was still dominating the industry and Sega wasn't making a dent that it hoped for. Eventually, Michael Katz was replaced by Tom Kalinske, who joined Sega after previously working at Mattel. That, as it turned out, would be one of the most important moves in Sega's history. However, just before things got better, things get a lot worse for Sega when Super Mario Bros. 3 arrived, and at the time it became the best-selling video game ever, smashing sales records and turning Mario from a popular game character into basically a cultural phenomenon. So,
Can you imagine that going, how do we plot our revenge? And they go, and somebody just walks into the room and goes, I don't want to give you really bad news, but have you seen what's happening with Nintendo? And they're going, oh, fuck.
So, look, this is a question. It's probably easy in hindsight, but difficult to truly answer. Do you think Sega could have changed Nintendo then without something as innovative then as Sonic?
With what? Altered Beast, Golden Axe? Yeah, sure. Yeah. What did they have in their deck of cards? Shinobi.
I mean, we're not talking about Mario. We're not talking about Mario, but you said, were you a Mario fan?
You can't talk about Mario and Nintendo without talking about Mario. The two are so intrinsically intertwined.
But were you a fan of Mario? I'm going to assume
I love Mario. Like I bought my SNES with two games, and that was Link to the Past and Super Mario World. And I spent, it must have, we haven't done this on the podcast, we've talked about bits and pieces, but I must have spent, oh my God, I do not know how many hours trying to master Super Mario World. I had a friend, Andy, hi Andy, who ran a shop, and I worked in the shop on a Saturday doing like the Saturday stuff. But Andy wasn't much older than me, but he was a manager of a shop, and I used to babysit for his kids. And but we both loved the Nintendo, to the fact that I used to wander around his house with my Super Nintendo and my Super Scope, and we'd, play a bit of shooty on the console. And then, his wife was just like, fucking, what are you boys doing? And then we put Super Mario World in, and we would literally play it for hours and hours on end, playing and just trying to get, like there were all these hidden levels and all these, it was just, I was obsessed with it, and that was
because it's a platformer. It was more, you'd play it like a normal game. I guess you could play it. Anyone could pick it up and play it.
Oh, it was one on, one off. When you died, the next person to ever go. It was that. That's how we played it. Yeah, and it was just it just obsessed with that game. Like I couldn't play it now, but yeah, it was something else. And it was and when I was at home, straight on Link to the Past, because that was, I loved that whole RPG, zoning yourself away and just, but with a mate, like sitting there and playing that was, it was just a godsend. Yeah. So I loved Mario, and then Mario 3D came out, and it was just like, oh my God, this is something completely different. And it's just, but Sonic never ever grabbed me in that way. Never. I still can't compute how the two were like, oh yeah, they were competing. I was like, they weren't. Yeah. Man, they just...
in the Olympics, they certainly are.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So Mario Bros. 3 comes out, cements Mario as a phenomenon. Sega's president, Hayao Nakayama, realised the company had a problem. Up until that point, like you said, Sega had mainly relied on bringing its arcade hits to the home consoles, Golden Axe, which is a phenomenal game, right?
That's great.
But it worked.
It's not a Mario killer.
No, exactly. It's not Super Mario Bros. 3. So it worked to a degree, but it wasn't doing enough to build a buzz and a brand for the Genesis, right? The Mega Drive. So what Sega really needed was its own mascot and someone that could represent the company, go head to head with Mario, and show off the Genesis's more powerful 16-bit hardware compared to Nintendo. So that's, again, I guess, a really important point is that, they had this more powerful machine. So why... Let's demonstrate it. Let's almost make that a feature
But mate, if you and I have learned anything through our time gaming, on many years of gaming, it doesn't matter how powerful the hardware is. If the game isn't the game, you just ain't bothered. Do you know what I mean? So, you know.
Yeah. So what did they do? Sega launched an internal competition to come up with a character with a particular focus on appealing to the important North American market. So the challenge ended up in a 15-person team in Sega known as Consumer Department Number 3 or AM8. This group included department head Shinobu Toyoda, lead programmer Yuji Naka, character designer Naoto Oshima, and level designer Hirokazu Yashuara. The team would eventually create Sonic the Hedgehog and rename themselves Sonic Team after the character that would go on to define Sega for decades.
Can I just, when you said they launched a company-wide initiative, all over my head, you know when companies do this month we're doing a walk-in challenge, and if you get your in my head I'm going, what, they just sent a memo out to everyone going, if you come up with a character design, just send it in to us and we'll, not like a unit of teams like looking at things, just like, they would just sent a memo out to people going, can you come up with something? Because we don't know what it is. We don't know what to do.
But can you imagine that? Just one day you're working, you get an email, tell how can you do this? And then you've created one of the biggest characters in history. Yeah.
Amazing, right? I mean, that happened with Mario. I'm assuming that's what happened.
I'd dine out on that story for life. I'd be like, even if people weren't talking about it, I'd lean over at a restaurant to the table next to me. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog, I created that.
I made that. I had an email.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my bill, mate. Well, just letting you know, just while you're waiting.
I wouldn't. I'd be like, why is it a fucking hedgehog?
And why do they run fast? Right. We'll come on to that later.
Good.
Right.
By the way, I have put away all notes. I'm fully absorbed in this episode. I know nothing about them. I haven't read them. I don't know. So from here on in, I'm all yours, baby.
Well, there's a couple of really, for me, things I hadn't appreciated, but we'll come on to that. So what's interesting about the key people behind Sonic, the two key people, they come from very different backgrounds, and those backgrounds were what ended up having a huge influence in the game. So firstly, you had Yuji.
I bet one of them wasn't a zoologist. That's all I'm guessing.
Well, no. Firstly, there was Yuji Naka. Unlike a lot of developers at the time, he was self-taught as a programmer. He'd attended an industrial arts high school and actually got turned down by Namco because they had a policy of not hiring high school graduates, which was a bit rough.
A little bit.
Instead, Naka continued developing his skills, learning from Kazuya Nishioka, a well-known contributor to Japanese computer magazine ASCII. When he joined Sega, he started working on the company's home computer systems, including the SC3000 and SG1000. It was on working on these that it became clear he was an exceptional programmer. He demonstrated his programming skills on the Master System versions of Space Harrier, Outrun, classic games. Again, fast action.
Yeah.
You know, sort of making what's
different
on screen.
Perspective, but yeah.
Yeah. And the early Fantasy Star titles, where he became known for squeezing incredible performance out of limited hardware. Now, this is important. One of his most impressive achievements came on Fantasy Star. Naka bypassed hardware limitations by writing a real-time uncompression and rendering routine for pseudo 3D scrolling dungeons. The optimization used 3 megabyte of the cartridge's 4 megabyte capacity, but ran at a controlled rate to prevent motion sickness. This basically, the reason why I say it's important is it set the stage for the high-speed rendering that was used with Sonic and what made his trademark speed. The other developer, Hirokazu Yashuara, his path into development was even less conventional. So originally he wanted to study architecture, but after failing to get into an architecture program at 18, he switched to machine engineering and joined his university's film club. Those interested in engineering, architecture and cinematography would later have a big impact on how he designed game levels. At one point, Yashuara even interviewed at Namco because he wanted to design theme park rides.
Right.
But this is sliding door moments. When he arrived and saw 200 other applicants waiting for interviews, he got intimidated, turned around and left. So he didn't even have the interview. Instead, he ended up joining Sega's console division. Now, I just love stuff like that. So you've got one of them interviewed at Namco, but they turned him down because he was a graduate. And this one wanted to develop theme park rides and didn't interview because he was too scared of 200 people in a room.
mad. There's a lot of this goes on in the industry, and particularly when you dig into these stories, isn't it? Like you say, there's sliding doors moments. You think fundamentally, had he bothered to interview, or had the other guy been successful at interviewing, you might not have had Sonic.
Yeah.
Just never. Like you might have had something, but it wouldn't have been a fast blue hedgehog.
Yeah, it might have been like a cat or something. You know?
A slow pink cat.
A sloth, a speed sloth. So, look, we're getting on. You've mentioned it a couple of times. So let's get on to the sort of the conceptual designs, right? So, what's funny is Sonic wasn't Sega's first choice, right, of characters. Okay. So before they settled on the blue hedgehog that you love today, the team went through a whole range of character ideas. One of the earliest concepts was a rabbit whose ears could grab, lift, and throw objects. And the idea was that you'd use the rabbit's giant ears like extra arms to interact with the world.
I can see it, but then I'd be going, why don't you just use his arms?
Because he had ears that he could do it.
Just like he doesn't got arms.
There was a problem, though. The Sega Genesis wasn't powerful enough to make that work.
Oh, okay, that is a problem.
Yeah, the amount of collision detection physics needed for the ears were considered too demanding for the hardware, so the idea was scrapped.
Fair enough.
So, another contender was a rolling armadillo, designed by Naoto Oshima. While it didn't win the mascot competition, the concept wasn't completely wasted. Elements of the design would go in to influence future Sonic characters.
Oh, like Knuckles is an echidna.
Echidna, yeah. Can you imagine? An armadillo, though, might be... I could see that because he could roll up and it would still be... Because Sonic ultimately just turns into a ball, right? And just races through. So I could see the same thing happening there. But those weren't the strangest ideas the team had. At one point, the team came up with a round cartoonish character based loosely on former US President Theodore Roosevelt, complete with pajamas. What
the fuck?
It was a long day in the office that day.
I love these things that come out and you go, can you just imagine the board meeting? I've got it. I've got our mascot. What is it? It's Theodore Roosevelt.
But he's in pajamas.
Doesn't sound like a console seller. How do we beat Mario? Theodore Roosevelt. Sure, of course we do.
So I think you may have been in that boardroom because everyone quickly realised that pyjama-wearing Theodore Roosevelt wasn't going to become the face of Sega. But do you know what they used the idea for?
Go on.
Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Eggman.
Oh,
they
really?
used that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Go. So again, just see how, like I said, that I think there's even 35 years later in an age where we think we've got everything at hand. I hadn't realised that. But yeah, they morphed him into the villain.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so just imagine, Dan, we could be sitting here, this episode could be talking about Mario's rival being a rabbit with stretchy ears who was fighting, or we could have been controlling Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, been a different episode.
Do you think Jim Carrey's been channeling Theodore Roosevelt in all his Robotnik appearances? I wonder if he knew that fact and went for that.
Maybe.
I don't know what Theodore Roosevelt... Does Theodore Roosevelt do a really bad Jim Carrey? Maybe that's... I don't know.
I know. I've only seen the first film, actually. I need to see one.
Yeah, but I quite like both of them. Now the CGI's correct.
Yeah. But you know what, Dan? They still weren't the weirdest ideas Sega considered.
Well, they're not.
So fans and historians have they've found loads of concept art and prototype builds. Okay. And they found a number of what they described as a graveyard of rejected mascot designs. There was a giant six-fingered hand, was considered a character in the game.
Okay.
Yep. There was a purple creature, not necessarily as a lead, but as something
just
in the game.
Designs for the
There was a purple creature with an enormous jaw and bright yellow gloves. In fact, this one got far enough into development that it appeared as a prototype in the Tokyo Toy Show in 1990.
Oh, okay.
They also experimented with a walking cannon and a walking exclamation mark.
I mean, when you say these things, they're not as weird as a lot of characters we've actually seen in video games that have come to life. So it doesn't surprise me that you throw. At the time, probably would have been like, yeah, that's a bit fucking weird. But then, so you know, I mean, Mario. Well, it's a bullet with a face, or it's a flying turtle shell, or it's a it's a mushroom.
Well, I could actually say in the 90s, it's probably you could get away with it. Do you remember we had games like Zool, which was the ant?
Yeah, drugs are to blame for the 90s, mate. I'm telling you now. You know,
James Pond 2, James Pond 2 RoboCod. I mean, you know, that was just a trip anyway.
Do you know what I mean?
I love that game, but that was
all game developers were on acid in those days, mate. I swear, too much coke and acid. That's what it was.
There was also a flying hand that resembled the Bat-Brain enemy from the final game, as well as a white ghost known internally by the wonderful, ominous name of Nightmare 13. And there was an alternate version of Robotnik that was coloured like a bee. So, yeah, different colour.
Bee?
Yeah.
Did it mean a bumblebee?
I guess, yellow and black, I guess. Yeah. So, if we're talking about the character origin being strange enough, his original story was even weirder too. So in the earliest version of the game, Sonic wasn't just trying to rescue animals from Robotnik. He was trying to save his bandmates. Yes, Sonic was originally in a band.
I can see him in a band. I mean, he's breakdancing in my image up behind me, I can see him in a band. Lead guitarist.
Yeah. Cross him over with Guitar Hero now.
No.
The idea was catchily called Sonic the Hedgehog Band, and the plan was for Sonic to rescue both his animal friends and the other members of his musical group from Robotnik's clutches. The developers even created a sound test mode where Sonic would breakdance while music from the band played in the underground. Unfortunately, deadlines got in the way, and as development sped towards release, a band concept was cut from the game entirely. But rather than throwing everything away, Sega recycled some of the assets they made, and the sound test graphics ended up being repurposed into the game's level select screen. So,
nice. Yeah. Nice. Shame, but nice.
Yeah. So the band, though, didn't disappear completely. It survived in various bits of Sonic merchandise, including a 1991 manga. So the band concept featured in that.
Okay, right.
A 1992 calendar and an Archie comic series. So I'll talk about some of the side stuff a lot later on. So his biggest ambition wasn't saving the world, but it was to make a number one selling album. Yeah.
He wasn't even saving the world, was he? He was just saving creatures. I think, does he? Oh, I mean, he saves the world in the movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, there was
just fights Robotnik, actually. He didn't really serve a purpose.
What's Robotnik done to him? Nothing.
They all have these antagonists that they just, it's like Mario beating down on a turtle. It's like, what's he ever done to you? Or he kidnapped the princess. But, you're probably better off without, mate, to be honest.
But Robotnik's probably taking his animals in, trying to care for them, they're going extinct, and like Sonic's just charging in there, smashing him up. Yeah. So it's not just characters and his origin. There was a number of gameplay ideas were changed. So one early title screen showed Sonic casually leaning against the Sega logo, but when the logo slid away, Sonic would lose his balance and fall backwards. It's a small detail, but it gave him more personality than the title sequence we eventually got. So again, I think they're just trying to cut down on memory and animations.
I like that idea, though. I'm sure I've seen something like that with Sonic with that happening. Why is that stuck in my... It's one of those... What's it called? Moments.
I think we've seen Sonic leaning against the logo, but maybe they've tried to
it's like where everyone thinks the Monopoly Man's got a monocle and things like that. I can't remember what they're called.
Mandela effect.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's like, I'm sure that happens on the title screen. It doesn't happen. Okay.
They changed the original final boss match as well. So instead of the boss fight that appeared in the finished game, Robotnik was protected by a giant energy shield while firing turrets at Sonic. And the trick was you couldn't attack Robotnik directly. You had to lure his own turrets into firing at the shield until they destroyed it for you. However,
never got there.
Well, no. And then after defeating Robotnik, Sonic would leap onto the villain's escaping aircraft and destroy it in midair for a more cinematic ending. But the reason we didn't get it, Sega Genesis only had so much memory available. So again, we're really the developers were hamstrung and tied to what they could do.
You know what they needed? They needed the guys at Nintendo who worked on Zelda to help them out. I mean, see what they did with the Legend of Zelda.
Yes,
and the amount of round they had. They'd have been all right.
I mean, some of these featured in later versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, but it's It's amazing how they envisioned such, a far more sort of rich and diverse game, but we had to get the simpler one just because of what we had character-wise at the time.
I think that's when we do this on games, I think we'll find this for almost every game. Ambition, is a wonderful thing, and you have all these wild and crazy ideas, and then the limitation, unfortunately, of the systems you're working with. I guess it's less and less now, but certainly games that we look at in the past, you kind of go, we've talked before about certainly in some of the more retro episodes about how certain developers have had to go to great lengths to design workarounds and really clever ways of including things that, weren't possible at the time. So yeah, I think, but yeah, I still think the ambition's great though.
Yeah.
And working those things into later games is even cooler.
Yeah. You kind of said it as we went along, but I had a question. Do you think Sonic, again, it's a really sort of nonsense question in a way, but do you think Sonic could have been successful with any of those other random characters? So as like an armadillo or an ear-grabbing rabbit?
No, the amount I like him, I'm surprised as successful as he is now, to be honest. I like the idea of the rabbit. I don't know why though, because I guess I like it. I was flipping. He could have used his arms, but I guess as a we've seen all sorts of weird and wacky design characters in games that do different things with different appendages. So why not a rabbit's ears that, acted as different things to lift stuff while you're doing stuff with your hands fighting or whatever? It could be really good. That's the only one that really grabbed me. I think the rest are a load of shit.
I don't know. Weird. I'm thinking the rabbit would remind me a bit of Rayman for some reason.
He's propeller on his ears, isn't he? That's the thing he does. Yeah.
I think what we would have had though is if you'd have had that character, it'd be a totally different game, right? Because then that's going to start introducing obstacle mechanics rather than the speed.
Totally.
So yeah. Okay, so once we had the character, the Sega finally settled on the hedgehog. The next battle for them was figuring out exactly what the hedgehog should look like. So character designer Naoto Oshima wanted something that was simple, memorable, and easy for kids to draw. I'm going to back that up because I kind of drawn it. I don't know if you can see it.
You've done a great job. You're not a kid. That's not how I describe you, but I think that is your best drawing so far.
So I drew Mario, so I had to draw Sonic. Is only fair.
You sort of drew Mario, but you've definitely drawn Sonic.
I wanted to colour him in blue, but it was just too much. It looked bad. So really simple. And again, I love that idea that he looks like what he was because he wanted kids to be able to draw him in the classroom. And that's how you embed it into the mind and sort of into that fan base, right?
Yeah, totally.
So that's why Sonic's design is bold shapes, clean silhouette. And, even if you're not an artist, you can probably sketch a recognisable Sonic from memory. All of us could probably do.
I have to say, my only problem with Sonic's design, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, is why has he got a pair of bollocks between his eyes?
Oh, Dan.
Just can't unsee it.
But let's move on. So those are his furrowed eyebrows.
Oh, okay.
So
actually, that made me cry. So funny.
So this is probably obvious, but I hadn't picked it up. Why was he chosen? Right, we'll come back 5 minutes. I think we should have an ad break for 5. So the blue colour wasn't chosen at random. Do you know why cobalt blue fur was chosen?
No.
Oh,
I genuinely don't.
Oh, it's ultimately to match Sega's corporate branding.
Oh, yeah. No, I guess it does make sense. Yeah.
I hadn't picked that up either.
Would that suggest though it's not working? It's like the idea was let's put it in harmony with our corporate branding, and people go, "Oh, I didn't get that."
Maybe it's a subtle thing, but no, I can't say I remembered it being that. But yeah, that's what it was. Their corporate branding. At the same time, Sega wanted Sonic to feel cool, modern, and especially to younger audiences. His spiky quills were designed to resemble a punk-style mohawk, giving him a rebellious edge that fit perfectly with the attitude Sega was trying to project in the 90s. now, the shoes.
Mm.
Do you know what inspired his shoes? Because I didn't know this either.
Adidas?
No.
I mean, they're very cool. There's the one bit about Sonic I quite like with his shoes. Well, I mean, he's fucking naked apart from that and his gloves. But yeah, what inspired his shoes, Dan?
Michael Jackson. They were inspired by the boots worn by Michael Jackson in the Bad music video. The team combined that influence with bright red and white colour, which was inspired by Santa Claus.
I guess he isn't bad. He was dressed in like leather and chains and black boots. So, but they took
Sonic.
It's a very different Sonic game, that is, Dan. No, MJ wasn't.
Yeah.
bad.
It was kind of in that underground, the white shirt. But apparently, and I'm trying to think, maybe we should get a picture of them and put them in. But they're inspired. So they were inspired.
Okay.
And like I said, coloured red and white because of Santa. So there's a whole lot of branding going on in that.
Fucking hell. I mean, they just threw shit at a wall and see what's stuck in that marketing department, didn't they? Blue. Our colour's blue. And then Michael Jackson's got a glove. Let's give him some gloves. Oh, Michael Jackson's got boots as well. Yeah, but they're not. What colour are they? Black. Oh, no, that don't work. Who's got red boots? Father Christmas.
Who's got nice boots? Santa. Right.
Santa's boots are fucking black. None of it makes sense.
So now, Dan, this might sound like a bizarre combination, but there
Already?
was and Santa was only red because of Coke. So basically, Coke have inspired Sonic.
None
I
of
mean,
it makes sense,
Coca-Cola,
Dan.
not Coke. Coca-Cola. I think we needed.
Coke.
I think we need a time
I
out.
told you it was all drugs. I
We
told
need
you.
a timeout. So this might sound like a bizarre combination, but there was also a practical reason for it. The strong colours, so the blue, white and red, helped Sonic stand out on the standard definition TVs at the time. So, yeah.
I can. You only had a certain limited number of pixels to play with, right? So I guess it's right. I'm guessing. I'm just looking at that image on my thing behind me. I'm guessing that yellow is a later edition, though, because I don't think that was in the original. I think this is from a later edition. So
Yeah, it must be.
yeah,
So
there's too many drugs in games design. That clearly.
the question I've got for you then, Dan, so as now when you're looking at Sonic,
Ask me another question.
you can appreciate that he's part company mascot, part punk rocker, part Michael Jackson, and apparently a little bit of Santa Claus. Was Sonic then really the first cool video game mascot, as Sega was trying to do? I think
Oh my God, no! I mean,
you're not the market for Sega.
yeah, I'm not. But what a question! Given he's an amalgamation of all this bullshit, is he cool? No.
If you think Sonic is cool, let us know.
Bless him. Oh, poor Sonic.
We love Sonic. So, of course, creating Sonic was only half the battle. The other challenge was getting Sega's Japanese and American divisions to agree on what the game actually should be and what he should be. And it turns out...
Fucking getting the marketing department to agree on what he should be, to be honest.
Well, it turns out the Japanese and American divisions had very different ideas.
I bet they did.
The team in Japan originally managed Sonic as a much stranger character than the one we know today. Early concept gave him visible fangs,
Right.
rock band, and a human girlfriend named Madonna. Not the Madonna.
Yeah, but I'm getting a bit of a vibe here, right? You know, he's like, well, he's a bit Michael Jackson in Bad.
Yeah.
Who
We
else
got
is
Madonna.
popular? Madonna. Let's make her his girlfriend, but not that Madonna, like a different Madonna.
Well, lucky it was that way around, not Mrs. Claus. He had a girlfriend.
Santa wouldn't have been happy, mate.
Yeah, so this
What's
wasn't...
this blue hair in my bed?
This wasn't based on the singer Madonna. This was a blonde human character who was intended to be Sonic's love interest and was described by the developers. This is where it gets a little icky, as a kind of male fantasy character for the Hedgehog. Now, wasn't there a game where Sonic does have like a human girlfriend? Or there is something. I'm sure
I
there
thought
is.
Sonic's girlfriend was Amy.
I don't know, but I'm sure there is a game, or there's something maybe I can't remember. I'll have to.
You've been playing the dodgy Steam games again, Dan.
No, bootleg version. But yeah, so that was what the Japanese department wanted.
Right.
Over in America, Sega's team looked at these ideas and immediately started sweating. Madeline Schroeder, who led marketing of Sega of America, felt that a blue hedgehog with fangs, a band, and a human girlfriend wasn't going to connect with Western audiences. More importantly, she didn't think it would help Sega take on Nintendo and Mario. The disagreement became serious enough that it wasn't just a few emails back and forth. Matt's got even worse when Sonic Team rejected a promotional poster that Sega of America had created for the character. Eventually, Madeline flew to Japan herself to sort things out face to face. Working alongside Sega of America president Tom Kalinske, she managed to convince the Japanese team that some of these ideas had to go. The human girlfriend was removed, the rock band cut, and Sonic lost his fangs. Sorry, not his fans. He's got a lot of fans.
He's got a lot of fans.
The result was a much cleaner, more focused character design. So again, it's another one of these what-if moments where you could have had...
Sonic turns into an episode of Succession, like jet-setting and telling people off and boardroom meetings and...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a hedgehog crossed with like vampire, crossed with sort of like Rolling Stones. It's,
And Michael Jackson thrown in for good measure. And
let's not forget Father Christmas. Yeah.
I mean, this is already my favourite episode, by the way, of all time. So Karen, I'm happy 60th. I'm already in it.
And Coca-Cola, technically. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So while Sonic's design was important, the real breakthrough was his speed. Sega didn't just want a mascot that looked cool. They wanted a game that could do something that Nintendo's hardware struggled to replicate. So they wanted to do something that Nintendo don't, right? So that responsibility...
I see what we did there.
Yeah,
I see what we did there.
That responsibility fell largely to the programmer Yuji Naka, who was determined to push the Genesis and its processor as far as it could possibly go. So what's fascinating here is that the Sonic's movement started life as a technical demo rather than a game.
Okay.
So he created a demo that featured a simple ball rolling through a twisting tube. It doesn't sound exciting, but under the hood, he developed the algorithm that allowed the sprite to move smoothly along curved surfaces instead of being restricted to flat ground. Now, the little rolling ball would eventually become the foundation for one of Sonic's defining features: giant loops, curved ramps, and vertical walls that players could race across at high speed. But making him move fast wasn't just the only challenge, or wasn't the only challenge. The team needed him to feel fast. So in many games of the era, characters simply moved at fixed speed the moment you press the button. So, you basically got one speed.
I guess you had to accelerate and decelerate as
Exactly. Naka took a different approach. He built the momentum system that made Sonic gradually accelerate, giving players a real sense of building speed. Roll down a hill and you'll gain extra velocity. Try to stop suddenly as Sonic would skid forward because of his momentum, change direction, and you'd feel the effects of inertia. Now, it all sounds really simple by modern standards, but it's fascinating to think that that wasn't really a thing and how effective that would be for Sonic.
This is always the thing that astounds me, and I think people, general people, gamers and stuff, they're right, they shouldn't have to, and they don't, but they generally don't appreciate what goes into all of the separate and individual mechanics. And if you think, right, for Sonic, this is one character that all the focus was on, that momentum thing, right? So the whole inertia thing was built around that one character. In games that we play, modern games that we play now, those type of mechanics and things are built into almost everything you interact with, or every character in there. And so it's staggering, the amount of effort that must have gone into just developing that one bit of code that kind of went, well, when he runs, he speeds up like you would, or I would if we ran. Well, I won't, but people who run, or when he goes down a hill, that momentum is added, that velocity is added to him moving far. Like those types of mechanics, coding that one thing, and then extrapolating that and going, okay, but in a game like, Crimson Desert or something like that, or how all those mechanics and things fit together, and how every single one of the things you interact with, millions of people, hundreds of people, whatever, all have to have that going on. It's mind blowing. You're like, man. And then people moan they have to pay 60 quid for this thing. You're like, yeah, it's worth it, man. Like,
But what you've said is absolutely spot on, and there's even more sort of magic that goes on under the hood. So everything that we've just said there gave him weight and like movement, but it gave them the developers another problem. So when you've got a character that can sprint around loops, running up walls, how does the game know where he's supposed to be at any point in time?
Yeah.
Again, clever programming. And the levels were divided into lots of small collision blocks, each containing data that described the shape of the terrain. The game would constantly check the information using invisible sensor lines projected from Sonic's sprite, allowing it to calculate exactly where he was standing, even if he was upside down in a loop or racing across a curved surface.
Wow. I mean,
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. Like, because how would you, even to start thinking about how you would go about trying to do that? How do we, I guess you have to, the starting point, it has to be the central sprite, the individual character that you want to use. But how do you then go, but how do we make sure that we track it? Oh, we'll just stick some invisible lines. That just doesn't come to people. You just think that. It must take months, if not, years of planning and working shit out, man. It's crazy, isn't it? And it was fast. For the day, we've said already, it was mad how fast that was.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's what they're saying. No players would ever know this or notice it, but it's the reason why it was revolutionary. So you've got this bright, colourful game, catchy music, but you've got real intense stuff happening in that game console.
Yeah. No wonder they ran out of memory.
Yeah. And it all started with a demo of a ball rolling through a tube. The system wasn't...
As these things often do, Dan. I don't know about you, but most of my ideas start that way.
But I love how on the two sides of things, right? This you've got the idea of people thinking about an armadillo, a giant six-fingered hand, Theodore Roosevelt in pajamas, and you've got this guy creating wonders, Yeah.
He's like, hold all those ideas. Let me just get a ball rolling in a tube for a minute.
He's like, how do I make this happen? I've got to make it happen. The game still had bugs because of that system. There were some bugs, and speedrunners still exploit those today. The engine used a pair of invisible sensor lines, like I said, to figure out where Sonic was standing. Most of the time it worked brilliantly, but occasionally a sharp piece of terrain could slip between the sensors. And when that happens, Sonic's foot might briefly sink into the scenery before the game realised something was wrong and correcting his positions. Normally you might not notice it, but it's just a reminder again of how much they were asking the hardware to do.
I'll tell you what, he was really fucking lucky they came up with a character that could turn into a ball, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If they'd come up with a character that turned up into a square, he'd just be like, oh, I've fucking wasted all this fucking time. There's a ball in a tube and you've come with a square.
Right, we want you to animate an exclamation mark at high speed.
Actually, in fairness, Mario had the dibs on squares, didn't he? So he probably weren't going to get that. So.
Yeah. Right, and it kind of still... a little bit of the same thing, but the clever part happened when the collision system was combined with, we're going to learn something, trigonometry. So the game, like we said, is constantly calculating Sonic's angle relative to the ground, allowing him to transition smoothly from flat surfaces to slopes, walls, and ceilings. So this is ultimately how he could overcome gravity in the game, letting him run up the vertical walls and race around loops without falling off. Then you had the special stages, if you've ever played them. They were the rotating mazes that seemed to spin every direction at once.
Yeah.
The impressive thing is that the Genesis wasn't designed to do that. So we've mentioned on here before, and the Nintendo's Super Nintendo had their Mode 7 that could rotate and scale backgrounds. Genesis didn't have an equivalent feature, so Yuji Naka built his own version in software. Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. By manipulating and redrawing graphics on the fly, he produced a full 360-degree rotation effect that looked almost impossible for the hardware. So ultimately, he took the console's limitations, said, fine, I'll do it myself, hold my beer.
Good job. Nice.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's what I mean. These people who break through the norm to come up with something very special. And the fact that he was able to do that without, with a limitation on hardware and just go, well, fuck it, I'll code it in software. Without Gen I.
I was literally going to say, you read my mind. I was going to say the crazy taxi people need Gen AI.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It would be impossible to do that without Claude. I'm pretty sure you can.
However, on that though, I mean, the team did work under enormous pressure.
Yeah.
They were putting in 18-hour days to get the game finished. To make Yeah, to make matters worse, Sonic was being developed across Japan and the US at a time when international communication was nowhere near what it is today. Sending levels across the Pacific could take hours, and if an error occurred during a transfer, which happened a lot, the whole process had to start again. So, yeah. So, do you think we're talking about a lot of the, you know, sort of the clever magic there to make him fast? And I'm going to talk a little bit about level design, but I think you've already said it. But do you like the speed of Sonic, or do you think it's too fast to be a proper platformer in your eyes?
For me personally, yeah. But I think that's what makes it stand out from the crowd. Like I've said, I'm not a fan of Sonic, but I know there are lots of fans of Sonic out there, and they love that element of it. They love that differentiator, the fact that nothing else out there is like Sonic in terms of, you know, the speed at which that game moves. And I suspect this is also why it's struggled to make that jump from 2D to 3D. And I know they've had a couple of attempts. I know there's a few games that have, you know, tried that 3D one most recently, but I suspect that's why it's always struggled to cotton on, because actually what people love is that the speed of the 2D that nothing else does in the same way. Right? Nothing else. Right? Mario started to do a thing where you could run and then fly, and then but it wasn't Sonic. It wasn't Sonic speed. So, yeah, no, I can appreciate it for what it is, and I think it is hugely successful in that respect. I probably struggle with it because of the speed. It's not my speed. It's not my bag. You know, it's not. I like a more methodical approach where I can work out those puzzle elements and how to do it. I don't like suddenly something coming up on the screen that I was totally unexpected and didn't have enough time to react to, like a spiky thing that I can't just roll through or whatever, and then suddenly I lose all my coins. And I suspect that's why they put the coins in there in the first place, right? Because otherwise you'd just be insta-death every time you played the fucking game. Because it's that same mentality almost with Dark Souls, where you have to learn patterns and then repeat patterns to get past the boss stage. It's the same thing. You have to know where that thing is instantly to jump over that thing to make sure. And as you quite rightly pointed out, when you do see someone doing a speed run, it is like poetry in motion, because they've memorized every single that pixels where I've got to jump, that's where I've got to spin, that's where I've got to... Yeah, I totally get it. Not my bag, but I can absolutely appreciate it for that.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking at time, I might have to cut a chunk out, but I do want to talk about the level design now. So basically, once they built all that, so it's brilliant all the technology they've done, but they faced an equally important challenge. How do you turn that into levels that were fun to play? And that's kind of what you were saying. So, you know, because it's one thing creating a character who can run that fast, but it's another thing to then build a game around them. So Yashuara's philosophy was really simple. He wanted players to be able to enjoy the game however they wanted. If someone wanted to blast through a level at top speed, they could. If they wanted to take their time and explore, that should work too. So a part of that philosophy came from the major restriction imposed by NECA. Unlike Mario, which used multiple action buttons, Sonic would only have one action button alongside the directional pad. That decision created a problem. If players only had one button, how would they attack enemies? So the brilliant solution to that was giving Sonic a separate attack move. He basically made Sonic automatically attack whenever he jumped. So the spin jump was then born from that.
Right, got you. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. The level design now, they come, and this is something, I've said a number of times that I had picked up on some things. And again, I don't think I've ever appreciated this or taken the time to fully appreciate this. A lot of the stages were built with multiple routes running through them. Now, so I knew obviously there was different ways through it, but the lower routes were made to be slower and more cautious, featuring traditional platforming challenges, enemies, hazards, and bottomless pits. These paths gave players a chance to learn the game and progress at a comfortable pace. But if you knew what you were doing, the rewards were waiting above. The upper routes were designed for experienced players who could maintain momentum, and these paths were packed with slopes, springs, loops, and shortcuts that allowed the skilled players to race through the stage without slowing down. So I can't say I've ever really triggered that. Maybe I knew it subconsciously without actually realising that was the...
I don't know. Sometimes I think these developers are a bit too clever. I think they should provide cliff notes and just go, oi, if you want to breeze through the game, do the lower levels. If you want to challenge, like, go up there. Like, no one ever says that. And you're like, how am I supposed to know? I just like that. It looks better up there. I'm going to go up there. I'm dying a lot. Why am I dying a lot? You go, you're rubbish. You should be using the lower level. But no one ever tells you. There's no hint system.
Yeah. the interesting thing is not everyone shared that approach who worked on the series.
Oh, brilliant.
When Naoto Oshima later directed games like Sonic CD and Sonic Superstars, his level design philosophy was different. Those games put a greater emphasis on exploration, vertical movement, and pinball-style mechanics, often interrupting the player's speed with bumpers, detours, and hidden routes.
I do remember that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, Yashura, by contrast, was obsessed with preserving momentum, so they were designed to reward players for maintaining flow and carrying speed. Yep, and then you've got the different the way the stages mix things up. You said it yourself, Green Hill Zone, I think, is classic, mostly because that's the first one, so everyone's at least played Green Hill Zone.
At least they started it, yeah.
The game abruptly then slams on the brakes with Marble Zone, which, the open fields are gone and high-speed loops. Instead, you're navigating ancient ruins and moving platforms, lava and environmental hazards. Next comes the Spring Yard Zone, which feels like someone has merged a cityscape with a pinball machine, and every few seconds you're being pinged across the screen by springs and ricocheting bumpers. And then you get Labyrinth Zone, or as many Sonic fans call it, the reason I have trust issues. So this takes everything Sonic is known for, speed, momentum, and freedom, and replaces it with underwater tunnels, maze-like corridors, and a constant threat of drowning. Now, you mentioned that, I think we mentioned on an episode, didn't we, about
Sonic drowning,
the Sonic music. Yeah.
Yeah, because the designer assumed, the creator assumed that the hedgehogs couldn't swim.
Yes, yeah.
But they can, which is like...
Yeah. And then you had the Starlight Zone, Scrap Brain Zone, and then the final zone. So I'm going to scoop...
I couldn't mention one of those, apart from the Green Hills.
I did get through the Green Hill Zone, that's it. It's an interesting thing. So a lot of the musicians who made the music for the game, at the time, Sega had strict policies that prevented developers from being credited by their real names, making it harder for rivals to poach talent.
That was really common.
Yeah. And because of this, Makino and Kubota, who I think worked on the game, had their names in the credits under different names. Their real names were hidden away on a secret diagnostic screen.
That's very kind of them.
Yeah, Nakamura.
Screw you getting work.
Yeah.
No, I did work on Sonic. Honestly, my name's different. Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah. Good luck with that on your CV.
And I know I've skipped a bit, but so you've got the soundtrack designer Masato Nakamura, who was bassist and songwriter for the J-pop band Dreams Come True, who worked on it. His involvement also had long-term consequences for Sega because he worked as an external contractor. Japanese copyright law gave him ownership of the music he composed for the first two Sonic games. That means Sega still has to pay royalties whenever those tracks are used in modern re-releases or marketing.
Not a savvy guy. I like a person who's savvy.
Yeah. So that then forced Sega to bring its own in-house audio team for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and later games.
Because they did shit. Don't want to keep paying him.
So basically I had a whole section with how well it's done, but we know how well it's done.
It's done all right.
Yeah, it's done. It's not too bad. So I just want to see, were there any other...
Have you got like a total global sales number to give people an idea of how big he is?
So let's have a look here. So the game's success helped Sega capture a significant share of the console market, making the Genesis a serious competitor. Oh, hold on. No, that was for sales of the hardware. So the Sega Genesis Mega Drive in that era went to about 18.5 million to 19 million. So basically push up to 33.4% of the market share. I think I do have... Yep. Standalone cartridge sales climbed to 2.8 million by March 92, so that's a year later. And
just for the original game?
Yeah. And that reached 4.5 million by November of that year. By 97, so 6 years later, cumulative worldwide sales had crossed 14 million units, generating more than 400 million in direct revenue, which, as we've said before, has surpassed most Hollywood films at the time. So the game went on to sell well over 40 million copies across all platforms, becoming one of the best-selling video games of all time. It was bundled in with the Genesis hardware, which accounted for around 15 million of those. And it's something we don't do anymore, bundle games, right? But that was a huge thing back then.
Unless it's a limited edition or whatever, and it comes preloaded, you're not getting a game, and then you're paying through the nose for a limited edition. It is amazing when we reel off numbers about old games and what they did, and then you look at something like, what do we say? Sonic sold 1.4 million in a year or whatever in the first year or whatever, and then you go to Bond sold 2.5 million in 2 days or in 7 days or something. You're like, fuck, like man, like the way the industry has just exploded, and that's why we love it. It's just it's just exploded into this mass thing that it's so unwieldy. You can't even keep track of it no more. The numbers are mind blowing.
Yeah. And I'll just finish. I just picked up some random facts.
I love random facts, Dan.
Yeah.
We love random facts. Do the random facts.
Sonic's first appearance, basically, the Blue Blur technically made his debut in a game released 5 months before his own title. He appeared as an air freshener hanging on a car's rearview mirror in the 1991 arcade game Rad Mobile.
Yes.
Radmobile,
Radmobile, yeah.
Yeah, he can't swim. Early developers assumed hedgehogs couldn't swim and integrated this into Sonic's gameplay, dooming him to drown if submerged in water for too long. Bring that one back. Propelled Sega to success over Nintendo in 91. So, Sonic did his job, right?
Good lad. Well done, Sonic.
Here we go. Yeah, I've got a little bit more on that. So, though Nintendo SNES eventually topped the Genesis, the little hedgehog that could reignited Genesis sales in late 91. Not only did it have a successful Christmas that year, but it managed to move twice the amount of systems that SNES had that season. By January 91, Sonic had helped Genesis reach 65% of the market for 16-bit machines. The team wanted to add a 2-player mode, but the limitations stopped that. Yuji Naka became seriously fed up with Sega during the process of making and releasing the game, with Sega having a lot of resistance about giving developers proper credit. So after publication, he actually ended ties with Sega's Japanese headquarter, opting to move to America and work with their office. He went out of the way to hide messages inside the game, printing the names of all the parties that were responsible for creating the game. So he displayed a list of names on the screen, which introduces the game. But don't worry if you haven't seen them, you're not going crazy. He printed the text on a black background, making them pretty much invisible without a code. And once Sega determined they were going to use a hedgehog, the company picked out the name Mr. Needle Mouse, which is fair to say is not a great name. And that could have been the end of the franchise there and then.
It's the Needle Mouse.
Yeah.
I like it still. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Mr. Needle Mouse the Hedgehog.
And Sonic, Mr. Needle Mouse the Hedgehog Adventure CD. Sonic was eventually decided upon, but they did end up using Needle Mouse as a code name for a game later on. So, yeah, look, I've cut a lot out, but I hope you enjoyed it. I think that was quite, like I said, I picked up some really interesting things during that, which hadn't either appreciated or we wouldn't have ever known that was happening, like I said, under the hood. So yeah, Sonic.
I loved it. Sonic has given me mirth. That's the greatest gift you can give. That I haven't laughed that much in such a long time. That was, thank you, Dan. I really enjoyed that.
Next week, so let's all celebrate Sonic Week.
Is it next week at time of recording, or next week at time?
No, next week at time of release. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, happy birthday, Mr. Needle Mouse.
and a
and your bollock eyes.
Yeah, and a memory to the armadillo and the rabbit with sort of
and Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And Santa and Michael Jackson. Thanks, all of you.
And the Madonna that didn't make it into the game, and the exclamation mark. Who could forget the exclamation mark?
And all the many drugs.
Right, Dan. Anything else you want to say?
No, thank you for that talk through, Sonic. Like I said, it gave me the laughter, which is the greatest gift you can give anyone. That was one of the funniest things I've ever done. I'm a very sad little person, but that made me chuckle a lot. And look, I learned a lot of things. I love episodes where you do this and I can just throw the notes aside and just sit back and listen and learn something about Sonic. So thank you, Dan.
No, you are welcome. You are welcome. Look, let us know your thoughts on Sonic. Were you a big fan? Did you know some of the secrets? Are there secrets I haven't said? Any of your memories about Sonic? Because look, especially like people our age, we're going to tie Sonic, I think, with certain memories or times in our life, aren't we? You know, when it was introduced. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on that. I'll just shout out again, please do, if you're not already and you've enjoyed this, and even if you didn't, press the subscribe and follow button. It'll mean a lot to us. So, all right then, Dan, thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Gaming Views.